The purpose of this podcast is to educate and inform. It is no substitute for professional care by your doctor or your qualified healthcare professional. Never disregard or delay professional medical advice because of something you've heard on this podcast or in any linked material. Guests who speak on this podcast express their own opinions, experience, and conclusions. Dr. Shirley neither endorses nor opposes any particular opinion discussed on this podcast. The views expressed on this podcast have no relation to those of any academic, hospital, practice, institution, or other entity with which Dr. Shirley may be affiliated.
Welcome to Forever Fab, the podcast on fashion, the art of living, and all things beauty. This podcast is curated by Dr. Shirley Madhere, MD, as the definitive source of holistic wellness through beauty.
Hey everyone, it's Dr. Shirley. Welcome to 15 Minutes of Fab, a segment of the Forever Fab podcast where I review products, services, experiences, and frankly, whatever, in 15 minutes or less. If the full-length podcast is a couture dress, for example, then 15 Minutes of Fab is like a button-down French cuff white shirt paired with leather leggings. If you don't have time to tune into the full-length podcast, then check out 15 Minutes of Fab, just a small dose. Some have considered it truth and beauty or plastic surgery secrets or as a nerdy or academic take on wellness and beauty with a dash of fashion. Consider it what you may. My aim is to engage you as a credible and authoritative voice in most, if not all aspects of beauty and wellness with a dash of fashion. That includes products, wellness services, technologies, innovations, new scientific research, and plastic surgery. As the founder of Holistic Plastic Surgery, my approach to beauty is through a lens of wellness that's grounded in science, backed by medical study and research, strengthened by my clinical experience, and bolstered by my surgical training with the use of principles and techniques of plastic surgery. And then there's my love of fashion. Of course, I feel uniquely qualified to talk with you about beauty, wellness, aesthetics, and plastic surgery, as well as products and services within those spaces, not only because of my extensive, and may I add, expensive training and expansive background, but also because I'm one of you. Many of the human issues around aging and being a fierce fab person, as well as an agent for positive change, I live these too, and I try. You're not alone. So together we can help the world become a more beautiful, forever fab place. So if you'll have me and give me at least 15 minutes of your time, let's get at it. In this new year, I've decided that it will be one of expansion and discovery. So I'll explore all sorts of topics, near and possibly far-fetched, while still focusing on the topics that make the Forever Fab podcast, well, fabulous, namely fashion, the art of living well or wellness, and beauty. As part of my philosophy of holistic plastic surgery, which I created well over probably now 15 years ago, where I believe that beauty emanates from within, wellness plays an integral role in my practice. And this goes for many aspects of life that help you to live in grace and beauty, including nutrition, exercise, products, services, technologies, mind, body, spirit, and science. The title of this week's episode of 15 Minutes of Fab on the Forever Fab podcast is To Think or Not to Think, How to Enjoy Joyful Freedom. This episode is dedicated to detachment and discernment. There is a difference between thinking and thought. Though distinct, they both have impact on our quality of life. In seeking joy and the freedom of a fulfilling life, must we nurture continuous positive thinking? Is that even possible? I believe that everything happens in divine precision. So when someone raved about a book about living well, I didn't hesitate to put it on my summer reading list. As I began to read it, I couldn't put it down. So on today's episode of 15 Minutes of Fab on the Forever Fab podcast, I offer you an excerpt from this book, which provides some insights into living a more beautiful life. And let's not forget, that is the essence of this podcast. It's raison d'être, if you will. So here we go. Chapter 2, the root cause of suffering. Quote, one who looks around him is intelligent. One who looks within him is wise. End quote. From Matshona Deli Wayo. Chapter 2 begins. We live in a world of thought, not reality. Philosopher Sydney Banks once said, quote, thought is not reality, yet it is through thought that our realities are created. End quote. What he means by this is that each of us lives through our own perception of the world, which is vastly different from that of the person next to us. For example, you could be sitting in a coffee shop having an existential crisis, completely stressed out of your mind about how you have no idea what you're doing with your life, while at the same time, the person next to you is happily enjoying their freshly brewed drink and peacefully people watching. You are both in the same coffee shop, smelling the same aromas, surrounded by the same strangers, but how the world looks to each of you couldn't be more different. Many of us go through the same events in exactly the same locations at the same time, yet we are having radically different experiences of the world. This is what I mean when I say that we live in a world of thought and not reality. Reality is what is happening right now. It is the objective circumstance that is occurring without any meaning or judgment attached to it. And so what we experience is not reality itself, but our perception of reality. Any meaning or thinking we give something is self-created and our choice. Here's another example. If you walk up to 100 different people and ask each of them what money means to them, how many different answers do you think you'll get? Money has a technical definition, but it means something different to each of us. Depending on who you are, money could mean time, freedom, opportunity, security, and peace of mind. Or it could mean evil, greed, and the basis for crimes. There are no right or wrong answers here, but the meaning we give something is the filter through which we see life. Just imagine how many answers you'll get if you ask 100 people their opinions on the current president. Even though it's the same person we're talking about, you will get quite a few different answers because we all have different beliefs we are projecting onto what we are observing. This is where we return to the idea of the two arrows, pain and suffering. It's not the events that happen in our lives, but our interpretation of them that causes us to feel good or bad. This is how people in developing countries can be happier than people in developed countries, and how people in developed countries can be more miserable than people in developing countries. Our feelings come not from external events, but from our own thinking about the events. And this ends the excerpt. This reading from a book by Joseph Wynn entitled Don't Believe Everything You Think provides some insights into living a more beautiful life and helping us to feel more in control of how happy we are. If you're interested, pick up a copy. Again, the book is Don't Believe Everything You Think, and the subtitle is Why Your Thinking is a Beginning and End of Suffering. The author, Joseph Wynn. This concludes this episode of 15 Minutes of Fab on the Forever Fab Podcast. Thank you for listening, and until next time, stay beautiful and forever fabulous, inside and out. Thank you for listening to this week's Forever Fab Podcast episode of 15 Minutes of Fab. Until next time, live well. prosper, and stay beautiful, inside and out, and stay forever fab. If you like this episode of 15 Minutes of Fab on the Forever Fab podcast, please share it and subscribe to the feed. Did you learn anything new? Review this episode by writing just one word to describe the value you got from listening today, and give this episode a 5-star rating. In case you missed it, listen to this episode, past episodes, or check out who's coming up next on ForeverFabPodcast.com. If you enjoyed listening to the Forever Fab podcast, get more audio and more visuals with a membership through Patreon. Choose the gold, platinum, or diamond tier for premium added content, special co-hosts, lifestyle videos, branded merchandise, and more by visiting patreon.com/foreverfab. And if you are a founder of or represent a beauty or wellness brand and you want to be featured on an episode of Forever Fab podcast segment of 15 Minutes of Fab, send me some stuff. Visit ForeverFabPodcast.com and fill out the contact form. For general holistic beauty tips or to get set up an appointment with me to discuss your personalized options for leveling up your beauty, go to elementsandgraces.com and sign up for my newsletter. And for an online e-consultation on time, anytime, and on your time, visit clicklift.com for your wellness, plastic surgery, and beauty questions on the go. And it's time for the elevated house call, wouldn't you say? Jet Set Beauty RX offers beauty on-call services near your home or other domicile, delivering beauty in the privacy of a medically equipped, state-of-the-art mobile aesthetics unit. Reserve at jetsetbeautyrx.com. That's all for now. Thank you for sharing the love. Goodbye, gorgeous.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Forever Fab, the podcast on fashion, the art of living, and all things beauty, curated by Dr. Shirley Madhere, MD. Live beautifully and help make the world a more beautiful place.